Welcome back to our snow and structures webinar. And in segment 1, we covered preparing your structure for winter. Segment 3, we're going to be covering getting your building ready for spring. But in this segment, we're going to be covering caring for your structure after a snowfall. How to deal with the things that are related to excessive snow. Now, so the 5 points that are going to be covered here are how much snow is dangerous, balanced and unbalanced snow loads, the correct pattern of removing snow, handling structure damage, and coping with the snow, ice, and rain combination, which is a little bit different than just snow. After a snowfall, the first thing that has to be assessed is if you are dealing with a dangerous situation. Cannot emphasize strongly enough to stay out of a building that looks like it's compromised. If a structure is going to collapse, it happens, in most cases, it happens extremely quickly, and you will not have time to get out. Like, it's not a situation where it slowly starts coming down, like usually, and like it looks like it's a problem, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a loud bang, and that's the end of it. So the important thing here is to address whether you have excessive snow that you should deal with, or that you are, this is just an ordinary situation where the snow will start sliding off as soon as the sun comes up a little bit. In the previous segment, I mentioned about the importance of knowing your building. Some buildings are much more prone to holding snow than others, and you need to be reactive if you have one of those buildings where snow is likely going to collect. So the first thing that is going to come up in your assessment of whether you have too much snow or you need to do something about it is if the snow load is balanced. It has always amazed me as to how much snow these buildings will handle if the load is balanced. On the flip side of that, it equally surprises me how little snow can actually cause a problem when the load is not balanced properly. An unbalanced snow load is most likely the result of the wind coming across a building, and so that you will have drifting on the backside. And so you are going to be getting a much bigger buildup of snow on one side than the other. So not only do you have the push on the one side, but you will have the lack of resistance on the other side. So the two together will quickly push your building out of shape. In those situations, it's usually the case that it is not an issue of excessive snow on top of the building, but it is something that has to be addressed for the sides. Now, if the snow is an imbalanced situation, as I was just referring to, then going along with the snowblower to remove that would be the way of choice to alleviate that situation. As you can see in this picture, there is a fair bit of snow on the building, but as the person is going along the side, you can already see that some of the snow has been sliding off. If this was a situation where it was worse, that like we were in a situation where there was 3 times as much snow on that building as what you see now, then going along with the snow blower is definitely not the way that you should start. Because what happens is when you have snow piled up on the sides, when the top wants to come down, the sides go out. So when you've got a pile of snow on the sides, then that will create resistance. So the top can't come down if the sides can't go out. So you definitely want to then approach it where you're bumping the snow off the top to start, and before you start removing it along the sides. In the previous video, we talked about that tool for removing snow. And so I trust that you have something handy so that you will be able to bump the structure. And now, on the assumption that it is safe to go in, obviously if it's not safe to go in, then at all costs you don't go in. Give us a call, show us some pictures of what you've got, and I can give you a strategy, but definitely don't go in. Now, gently bump the cover, and again, alternating so that you're not just going all down one side and bumping that snow off. You need to go back and forth so that you're clearing a little bit of snow at the top and going down, and then you can do a second pass going down, like to encourage the snow to slide off. If you have a lot of snow on the building, but not much on the ground, the worst thing that you can do is to start bumping the snow on the sides, because what is going to happen then, you don't have anything really to hold the building in place, and you've still got all the weight on the top. So it's always important to start bumping at the top. Even if it doesn't look like you're accomplishing much, you need to do that first pass near the center of the building and then work down. And once you've got it lightened up, then if you really have a buildup along the side, you can go along the sides with a snowblower to remove that so that there is room for that snow to come off. But you definitely don't want to remove that snow first and start bumping the snow on the sides before addressing along the top. Now, in this slide, we have a situation where there was an unbalanced snow load, and it caused the structure to partially collapse going in. Now, because if you look at these arches closely, you'll see that there is a buckle in there, and so it's definitely we're faced with a situation where those hoops would have to be replaced. But the person here had some shorter lumber, and the way that this is placed is totally not productive. The 2x4s that have the notches in need to be placed at 90 degrees to the damage, so at a much more like a 45-degree angle. That way, when the wind starts pushing on this or creates more shifting, you're not going to get these 2x4 slipping and creating more damage. Because what has happened, because these arches have a buckle in them, they are now at probably only about 1/10 of their original strength. So there is not much holding power there anymore. And so it's important to brace that. And what you can do is, since the damage has been done, you're propping this up, and then you can put longer boards there to slowly start pushing everything back into its original shape. Because, like, assuming this happened earlier in the season and you're going to sort of have to live with it for the balance of the year, you want to make sure that you've got every bit of snow shedding that is still possible. But this is also one of these situations where you would be best to give us a call, show us what your situation is, and we'll give you some strategies on how to survive the rest of the winter. Now, one of the slight variations that are often dealt with, and this seems to be primarily a spring, more like a late winter spring phenomenon, is when you have an ice storm and you get a small coating of ice on your building. Now, that ice is not a problem in itself. Like, I have seen severe ice storms where you're getting like 10 centimeters of ice. The structure is literally, that dome of ice is literally capable of supporting itself. So it's not really a problem on there. But also, if you are trying to get rid of the ice, it is extra important that you start at the top and work down. Because if you bump the ice off the bottom first, what can happen is that the rest of the ice will slide down and it falls. But where the real potential problem with this will lie is if on top of this ice, you get some snow and it's colder, that snow will not likely slide off of the building the way that you are used to seeing. So you're going to slowly add to that weight. Where this really becomes a problem is if the temperature warms up while it's snowing and it becomes rain. I have seen situations where the weight on the building can triple in over the course of like 20-30 minutes. And this very quickly becomes a major problem. So this is why I always encourage people, is that even if that thin layer of ice is not an issue in itself, it's still a good idea to just go along and bump it. And it only takes a matter of minutes to bump it, because the ice will come off in fairly substantial chunks, and it's because there's very little resistance, and so it comes off. So this is just a few minutes of preparation will have you to not deal with a much larger problem if that combination of events takes place. Now, that is the end of this segment of dealing with the snow after on your building. And I'd again like to encourage you to sign up on our Community Connection newsletter, and you will get regular updates as far as potential storms that are coming and how you need to prepare, and just little tips on getting maximum benefit from your building. Thank you for watching.